I'm the president and CEO of HAMR Mining. I'm going to give you a quick overview of the company after we talk a little bit about why we went into silver and why we, with my background being a mine builder, why I wanted to build a leading silver mining company. With the current macro situation the way it is, the extreme degradation of wealth, the erosion of wealth from the loss in cryptocurrency, the general loss overall that has been seen in sentiment for markets, I think it's a very interesting time to be sitting out there going, how can we make a difference? How can we do it in great jurisdictions? And how do we actually impact what's going to happen in not only the United States, Canada, North America, but how do we do that locally with silver, impact the green revolution? And so we came up with the concept of HAMR. We said, you know what? Let's build a leading silver mining company. It takes time, obviously, but let's do it in a safe jurisdiction, and let's do it right. So obviously forward-looking statement, big long disclaimer, I'm not going to read it. So the idea of HAMR, we started about a year and a bit ago. I joined the company in late June last year. We're focused on Idaho and Nevada. And these are the areas where you look at companies like Hecla, mentioned many of these presentations, Hecla, Coeur, the massive silver mining companies. This is where they got their starts. Idaho, Coeur d'Alene district, this is where Hecla and Coeur, and Hecla still operates, Lucky Friday in that area. This is that prolific silver belt outside Coeur d'Alene, our flagship mine, Strand, a past-producing silver mine and gold, very limited production out of it because they couldn't consolidate a district. We were able to go in there, consolidate a massive strike length, and not only start exploring it, but do that in a low-cost, high-impact method, and I'll talk about that in the further slides. Now, it comes into September, we were able to acquire two past-producing projects, and I say past-producing because it's really in the past, like 1800s, ultra-high grade past-producing silver mines. One in that, we call it the Eliza project in the Mount Hamilton district. That district produced roughly 40 million ounces of silver in about 4 years, 1968 to 1972. Very high grade. No one's gone back to this lower portion of the property where it just dipped under cover and they couldn't chase it because they didn't have geophysics, they didn't have modern technology, they didn't have the modern geological knowledge that we do now. So we were able to acquire that, do some boots on the ground work. I spent a bunch of time down there myself. I'm not a geologist, so I learned a lot about geology, and that was fun. And then we picked up Silverton. So just to touch on the district areas of Eliza and Silverton. Eliza is between Eureka and Ely, kind of right in the middle there. Good jurisdiction, road access, easy to get to. You drive there from multiple different areas. And then Silverton is about an hour and 20 minutes from Tonopah. Another high-grade past-producing silver mine. You see produced at about 933 grams a ton silver in the 1930s. People typically in Nevada and Idaho, they go after these trends, right? These big, large trends, the Carlin trend, they start chasing that. So a lot of these districts get forgotten about. And I like to call it a mine life, a mined life. It's very easy to remember people in this industry. Projects tend to, so-and-so, Robert Friedland. Okay, cool. How many projects do you know about Robert Friedland's working on? Pretty much what he's working on right now. And unless you study him, that's kind of how it works, what I found in the mining industry with my background. So we are still a relatively new company. We have 46.7 million shares out. Sorry, my voice is cracking. My son was a little sick, so I'm still getting over his sickness. 46.7 million shares out. We just did a $3 million capital raise in June in the fund side of the market. That was a lot of work. We have a great capital markets team behind us. So that enabled us to go out to our flagship mine, Strand in Idaho. We were able to go in. Again, I talk about this low-cost, high-impact method. We had an existing underground there. My background, and I'll talk about it at the very end because I don't like talking about myself that often, is mine building. So we went in and we said, well, how do we get in here and instead of plowing in a bunch of roads on surface and going through the arduous permitting process in the U.S. Forest Service, how do we get in there and do this low cost and prove the thesis that there's strong mineralization below what was past produced and start to make this thing big? How do we do that? Okay, so we went in, we rehabilitated our underground, which means we went in, we put it back into what could be utilized, and we stepped out from the existing ore body, or what was the existing ore body. And it's important to recognize that because when you have an underground and you can utilize that, I don't need to drill through massive amounts of meters of overburden. I don't need to go and plow in 5 kilometers of roads to get in the mountains and really disturb. We're fully sheltered underground. We can go in, we can do the work at low cost and have that, we call it like a 1-to-8 ratio where you're underground, so you don't have to go through that overburden. We did our first drill program, very small drill program last year. Again, we started in very late June. Everyone's like, okay, let's get drilling. And all right, so how do we do that? I've never worked in Idaho, so we figured it out. We got a great relationship with the drilling contractor. We permitted it, and we're able in the U.S. Forest Service to permit a surface program in 2 weeks. It's never been done before. Full 7 different drill pads. We use a low-impact drilling method from Canada, put in some new technology, thought outside the box instead of waiting 2 years to get a permit. So now, not only do we have the exploration and the drilling that we're currently doing at Strand, should be wrapping up in the next week, we have the ability to go and start testing all these anomalies on surface, all these surface sampling that we did last year, 7 grams gold, 11 grams gold, 150 grams silver. So all these silver and gold outcrops in a jurisdiction where 1.2 billion ounces of silver has been produced so far. Lucky Friday's still in operation. That mine goes down 1,800 plus meters. We were only ever mined up 90 meters. So as you can see, there's a huge potential not only down in the mine, knowing a lot of these veins in the Coeur d'Alene district produce up to 50 million ounces of silver. Now we have open at depth we can start testing, and which we're doing right now. We're looking forward to the results coming out of there. All near surface, we're not 500 meters down. Development cost, all that fun stuff becomes a lot cheaper. But now we have the entire 5.5 kilometer strike on the backside of the Osborne Fault that we can go and we can start testing, and we can build a bigger story. Not only a large exploration payoff story, but a production story. There's a mill nearby. There's a lot of catalysts that can make this a big mine in a short period of time. But again, we have to do the low cost, high impact exploration work. I keep saying that because I really like to emphasize the low cost, high impact, which means better bang for your dollar shareholder wise, less dilution overall. Now I'm going to transition down to Nevada, our Eliza project, past producing Hamilton district. We picked it up, and I get down there with the gentleman that we picked it up from, and we're like, oh, this is really interesting. There's a lot of cool historic things here. And we start sampling it. And we not only realized that we had high-grade silver in the samples, but we were high-grade copper. We had high-grade lead, zinc, and we're going, well, that's really interesting because there's something going on here that maybe just isn't silver. So we just finished a huge soil sampling program up. Our technical team on the board is very experienced with major silver discoveries behind them. And we had to go back and resample because there were some exciting results out of there. So we're like, okay, we need to double check these things. We're looking at catalysts coming out of there in very short order here this month, hopefully, getting the results back at the end of next week. And we'll be putting that together in a larger story. We've actually expanded the land claim there significantly. And what Eliza does for us, it takes us from our flagship mine in Strand in Idaho. It allows us to be in another safe jurisdiction in Nevada with another shot on net, another high-grade past-producing district, another potential for building a mine in the future, right? And that's really what I'm about as a person. I want to build a mining company with that exploration payoff, get into production at some point in the hopefully nearer future, and bring that value to shareholders, start revenue generating. Silverton, another past-producing silver mine. Again, I touched on Silverton district. And as you can see, we've expanded it significantly. The reason we expanded it significantly because it goes under this old, young volcanic lava flows, and a lot of people don't look under there anymore. And I'm not a geologist, I'm not going to pretend to speak geology here. But my geologist went down there and he says, I think something's happening under here. Started sampling, started doing soil samples, and led us to believe that the strike from the old mine is actually a lot bigger than they originally thought. So we started exploring that again in September. Not only did we notice high-grade silver and very good grades of silver, we noticed that on one part of it, the other half of the claim block, there was gold. Up to 6 grams a ton gold on surface, 0.2, 0.6. Very reminiscent of like a large mine like Round Mountain, really lower grade, bulk tonnage, huge, giant open pit. I'm not saying we're Round Mountain. I'm saying there's a potential of an analogy there to a mineable grades, mineable widths. And we're fully permitted to drill with 12 different drill pads right now there. So again, we're doing all the groundwork that's required to build a mining company, get into the exploration side, and produce results. I went through those. I went through the catalysts coming out, obviously, are drilling at Strand in Idaho. We just finished an IP survey. Our geophysicists are going through it. We've engaged a PhD level person to actually go through, look at the anomalies compared to what was past produced, and start building that larger 5.5 kilometer land package out, and how we're going to drill it and where we're going to drill. That will be coming in short order as well. I've got 3 seconds left, so I'm going to yap about myself for 2 seconds. My background's mine building. I spent time with Freeport in Indonesia at the Grasberg complex. I spent a number of years at Togoy with Rio Tinto in Mongolia. I put a mine back into production in Ghana and West Africa for Golden Star Resources. I've spent time in the Arctic with Sabina Gold and Silver, running engineering and construction groups. So again, very focused on process, very focused on outside the box thinking. How do we get to that build a mining company stage, which we're working on. I'd like to talk quickly about Ron Burke, if I'm allowed for 2 seconds. Ron Burke and Lawrence Ralston. Lawrence is a staple in the industry, been doing this for 40 years, been associated with a number of very, very successful companies, including Metalla Royalties, it's, $400 to $600 million company. He's the chairman. He was a successful newsletter writer with Resource Opportunities and provides very strong technical background. Well, then you couple that with Ron Burke, ex-vice president Centerra, ex-vice president of Silver Standard, been responsible for multiple large discoveries. And you couple that with Jonas Lang on the capital markets side. Now we have that triple-pronged approach as a company. Look at it from a mine building standpoint, look at it from a strong technical and exploration standpoint, and have the capital markets people behind you, leads us to potentially building a large mining company. So that's all I have for time. And thank you very much.